Hello again everyone. Today we once again find ourselves in LYNE, and today we will be doing set W. I've actually spent the time to pre-prep going through these particular sets already, so even though they don't show us completely, I've actually already done them before. So I'll be using notes that I already have done and going that way. The reason why I've done it for this particular set and not for any of the ones prior is simply because that this set actually, for these last few sets, it's going to be quicker for me to do this from a standpoint of just basically going through the levels and saying, hey, I'm gonna pre-play them so I know what the hell I'm doing. Where it's only really worth it for these last few levels where the difficulty level's high enough to warrant that kind of action. So hopefully I can remember everything I did so that it doesn't create too many problems. But we shouldn't have. Hopefully this will be effective enough that I can just do it for the last few levels. We try and knock them out fairly quickly and the videos won't be super long. But anyways, one thing I will discuss during today is the idea of perfecting games on achievements with achievements on Steam, similar to how you would on a game like on a game on your Xbox or whatever. But just the act of perfecting games from an achievement standpoint, particularly on Steam. And some of the games, more so than others, are very easy to do it. Other ones are very hard. One example for this would be LYNE itself. Not too terribly difficult. It's just really a completionary thing where you're going through and you're completing really just the levels all the different level packs as they appear. So it's nothing that's really too demanding or difficult from the standpoint of having to do different things or different skill achievements, as it were. It's not something that's going to be very hard for you to accomplish or do. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. The screenshots I took were, I basically did these levels prior and took screenshots of them and basically I'm playing off of those screenshots, but it doesn't show the direction that I've necessarily gone. So it can be tricky sometimes for me to figure out exactly what order I need to make the moves, because I know the end result, but I don't necessarily know the means to that end result. However, it does make things a little bit faster, specifically for these last few levels that are going to be a little bit higher difficulty, so it makes it where I don't have to spend nearly as much time trying to figure out the levels, and then that means wasting less of my time, and then by wasting less of your time. But anyways, back to the idea of perfecting games, getting all 100 achievements. Because one of the reasons why I talk about this is if you get to a certain Steam level, let's just use 20 for an example, let's use 10 for an example as well. One of the things you get as you get your Steam level up is different little showcases to put on your profile. And one of those particular showcases is showing off your achievements. And one of the things that it has is it shows how many games you've gotten every achievement, or perfect games, as it were. So with that, there's a few it's similar to kind of what you would see from Xbox Live or something like of that nature with the achievement system, but so it's going to be the same from the standpoint of there's going to be achievements that are very easy to get, achievements that are very hard to get, and all that kind of stuff. No, that's not the one. There we go. That's it. So LYNE's a very simple one because it honestly requires not that much to do. in the game is just completing all the different sets and doing some stuff to daily. There's a few games that are like that that are very easy to get the achievements in. So those are the ones you typically see as your perfect games, unless you put a lot of time and effort into certain other games that you want to get every achievement in. Some of them are just a skill-based thing. Some of them are, again, just time-consuming, where they take a lot of time to go through and be in. And some of them are honestly very hard from a standpoint of like multiplayer achievements or different things of that nature. Where it's hard for a different reason, not necessarily because the achievement itself is hard, but getting everything you need, getting all the situations to line up for what you need to complete the achievement can be difficult. Because one of those examples of that is Tomb Raider. Because I've actually played through quite a bit of that game, and 100% of the single player in terms of getting all collectibles and everything like that. But I'm missing specific achievements from the standpoint of pulling 5 enemies off ledges and the multiplayer achievements. So the multiplayer achievements, more so than anything else, are going to be incredibly difficult to get just because of the nature of its multiplayer. Unless you have a whole bunch of people organized, like in a community event or things of that nature, that it's hard to it's going to be hard to get those achievements just because of this fact that other people in the game are basically just trying to play the game, and then you're not going to have that ability to go through and just get the achievements that you want to get because they're not going to necessarily cooperate with you and allow you to get them. But there is a similar situation that you can still kind of go through. Some of the smaller games and the indie games, kind of like LYNE is, are where you're going to typically see a little more of the high percentage achievements, stuff like that. Whereas like a game like LYNE, like a game like Vortex, even 10 million. Again, those games, the games that I gone through are actually games that I've personally completed to 100%. I'm choosing those particularly as an example because they're typically fairly simple. Again, Vortex and 10 billion are mostly completion. There are a couple skill achievements in there in terms of for Vortex, it's being everything on getting everything every level perfectly completed without a single death on the hardest difficulty is the main skill achievement you can get through there. Most of them you can get through just a single playthrough on whatever difficulty you so please. And 10 million, again, a lot of it's completionary, although there is specific achievements for skill achievements that you're going to need to get, like completing it on completing or getting such and such getting a particular high score on a level that's like getting at a certain. There are different difficulty levels that you can run through the game because it's hard to explain the game from the standpoint of you kind of just run a dungeon over and over and over. But there's certain difficulty settings that determine where you start, because you're gonna go because you can, as you advance different levels, those are basically your difficulty levels, and there's certain achievements for starting for getting so many points by when you're starting on a specific difficulty level. So not necessarily the hardest, but completing things like that. So those are your skill achievements. Again, games like LYNE is one of those games that will take you a long time to pick up all those achievements, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a long time because the game's very fluid and works very well in that kind of situation. However, games like similar indie games like LYNE, not like LYNE, like Vortex and 10 million will only take you like 4 or 5 hours to get all the achievements in, because they're not necessarily as difficult to accomplish or complete. So those games won't take you quite as long to get through if you wanted to complete all the different achievements out there. But some of them, again, like LYNE will take you 20-some hours or stuff like that, depending on how good you are, how many you will walk through different things like that. And another game that's similar to that, the they're not necessarily as difficult, is a game like Fate, which was a wild hedging game originally. It's actually been out from a long time ago, to be honest. Let's see here. So that one, because LYNE has 33 different achievements, and it's honestly interesting to see that there's honestly that many, even though it is a fairly simple game from the standpoint of there's not really that much to it. But there is quite a few achievements in it. It does make sense once you take back a look at it, because it is literally one achievement for every set, along with all these different things like completing daily sets or talents. So it's more achievements than you normally think for a game that's this simplistic, but it is still available from that standpoint. So it's not something that takes necessarily too long, just because of the nature of the game. Well, it's not something that takes a lot of skill because of the nature of the game, but it does take a decent amount of time. If again, Fate's similar to that, even though it only has 10 achievements. Even though again, they're all basically completionary, so it's not really too difficult from the standpoint of there's nothing that you're going to take a lot of hours just trying to complete that particular one. What am I missing? Okay. That's story. So some other games that I've personally perfected on Steam that are honestly not, that I honestly think are not that difficult to do the same are, there's a game called Altitude, which again is not, there are some skill achievements involved in there, but it's really just kind of completionary stuff, using all the different planes. It's like an arena plane fighter kind of thing with different game modes, all that kind of stuff. Magic 2014 is also fairly easy with 38 achievements. Altitude has 52. Magic 2014 is fairly easy, especially compared to the other ones. It's not quite as demanding as the other Magic games in terms of the achievements that you have to get in there. I mean, there is still going to be some complexity regarding those achievements in terms of what you're going to have to get, but nothing too difficult. And for the challenges, there's easy walkthroughs. And then Shovel Cantina Deluxe is also another one that's very time-consuming, but not necessarily hard. I'm actually currently in the process of doing that one. Again, it's long. It's only all the achievements there are only completion, but it's just time-consuming, not necessarily hard. But anyways, there is set W. We have only 3 left to go, X, Y, and Z, so I'll see you next time for those ones, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time.